Welcome, DeFi Degens, to DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. I am Mike, aka Veteran Crypto. This is Jeff, aka the Blockchain Report. How's it going, brother?
Going great, man. Feeling a lot better today. Missed some entries yesterday. Kind of sad about today, but happy there's a ceasefire, which is nice. So crazy to see the events over the weekend, but yeah, we're here. We're alive. Happy. The markets are pumping, and some of my pools are back in range, so that's good. And
Yeah, no,
yeah,
definitely.
how are you holding up, man? Glad to
Oh,
see it.
I'm
Your
always
DeFi
doing
is looking
good.
good.
Yeah, no, just been watching the markets. Obviously they're pumping pretty well. Most of my holdings are up, double digits percentage wise.
Mm.
And of course, been checking out my different liquidity pools. Some of my couple of range positions that I have are coming back into range. So, patience paid off. Just kind of been waiting it out, and those are starting to look good. Got a couple of KTA positions that need to either KTA needs to pump, um, to kind of against ETH so that it comes back into range. So would
Mhm.
love to see that happen. But the deposit amount is going up on them because the price of KTA is going up. So that's all good.
Oh, that's true. Even though you're out of range, you could still have one asset pump and gain.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, like right now,
oh
I'm
yeah,
all
because
in
you're in KTA.
on this
Okay.
position here. I have 1,913 KTA, and so yeah, as the price of KTA goes up, then the price of my deposit goes up. So I'm not earning yield, but I'm still getting price appreciation. So
Ah, okay.
yeah, so it's all good.
That's good to know with those what is it? The diverging assets or
Yeah, well, you get
they're
the
not like,
divergence loss. Like if one of them's
yeah.
pumping and one of them's dumping, then obviously it's going to DCA you into the one that's dumping, and so yeah, you get what's called divergence loss, and so yeah, in cases like that, usually I only get into pools that are too volatile assets, not a volatile stable. Um, I usually only are crypto. I usually only do those if it's two assets that I really want to hodl, because either
Mhm.
way, like say KTA pumped and ETH dumped, I'm comfortable hodling ETH. If, ETH pumps and KTA dumps, I'm comfortable hodling KTA. So yeah, it's, you just got
Mm.
to understand these pools and how they work, before you get into them, because you don't want any surprises.
Nope.
Well, do you want to jump into the socials, and then I'll do a little bit of news and kind of
Sure.
state of the markets, and we can get into the project.
Thanks everyone for joining us on this Monday. I appreciate you taking your time out of your evening. I know there's a lot of other people streaming, but we appreciate you joining us here at DeFi Crypto Airdrops, where we go live every Monday and Saturday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and midnight UTC. Mike is also going live with a couple of TradFi experts and
Thursday,
law experts Thursdays afternoon
yeah.
or
Well, it'd be afternoon
like
on the East Coast, but 10 o'clock Pacific time, noon Central, so 1 o'clock Eastern.
okay, yeah. So Thursdays, um, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and you can catch our brother channels: Discover Crypto, Blockchain Basement, BitLab, DCA Consortium, and my channel, The Blockchain Report. And they cover the whole host of news, degen stuff, trading, technical analysis. We're gonna have a bunch of crypto expert, cool, like-minded people in our community that we're building. So we appreciate you all. Also, we have a Discord too that
Mm.
you can get in and vet all the stuff that he shares for the DeFi tracking sheets. Resources is all here. So
Yep.
if you're into all that, this is the place to get in. We're talking about DeFi pools. We got airdrop projects, portfolio monitoring, all kinds of stuff that you would need. And also Discover Investments Group Discord channel. I think um, there's some free channels in here, right? That
Yeah. There's a free section, and then you can pay to get access to the gated section, to where they drop a lot of early alpha, early morning. When the markets are
Mhm.
waking up. Josh and Drew often will get into the live chat, and start live streaming and actually show positions that they're getting in. So if they're going to long or short, the market, like Bitcoin or something like that, they'll get in there. They'll share what they're doing. Both of them do really good with trading and earning money with
Mhm.
trading. So I highly encourage you to get in there and start learning from them, because trading, it's not something that I personally do. It's kind of beyond me, and I found DeFi, and DeFi treats me way too good to mess with anything else. So, but
Mhm.
yeah,
Find your
I mean,
niche,
it's
man.
it's definitely a good skill to have.
Yeah. And you can catch Vet at Veteran4Crypto on Twitter and me at the BCR142. Make sure that you're following the right accounts. Also, the underscore only underscore DCA. And we will not message you for financial advice or asking to invest for you. Anyone that does is a scam, but feel free to message us or tag us in a post, and we will address any scammers. But yeah, just keep your eyes out. And also be careful with funds being sent to your wallet. So we did a thing like any tokens that might look legitimate. So remember the Newton protocol we covered a month or so ago. They had the automated AI bot where you can, on the base network, where you can set your orders, like you could DCA using an AI bot, and they actually launched their token tomorrow.
Mm.
And I looked on my account and I saw like $10 worth of a token. And I was looking on Twitter and people were saying, yeah, it's a scam if you interact with that token. And there's like $10 worth of value on it. So
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, let me check this, but it's a drainer. So always check if you see a token that's airdropped in your wallet, especially on the base network. There seems to be a lot of like small cap tokens that get airdropped as dust, but I don't ever touch them.
I
So
don't either.
just, make sure that you look into whatever token you're like, okay, I know I do a lot of airdrop hunting and I could have just easily been like, oh, let me swap this because there was value. But I just make sure that you check and verify. Even on Twitter, there's a lot of people that will share some good information like that. So just be on your P's and Q's.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's always somebody out there trying to freaking steal your liquidity. So always be careful. So
Hmm.
yeah, let me go ahead and jump into a little bit here. Let me bring my screen up.
Oh, I got it for you.
Oh, okay, there we
Yeah.
go. All right. So as always, I want to hit DeFi Llama. The Llama always tells the tale.
Yama.
So the markets right now pretty much is we're just trending sideways. When it comes to DeFi, today a lot of the yield has gone up. I know that like yesterday I was making about I think it was 120, $130. And today I updated right before we went live. I'm making $220 a day now. So $6,603 a
Mm.
month, and just shy of $80,000 a year. Obviously, if we were able to maintain this, but of course, it's going to fluctuate all the time. But um, I'll share my portfolio at the end, just for anybody that's interested. Just to, like I said, trying to share my journey, so that those of you out there can kind of understand how these portfolios can potentially move. So yeah, DeFi Llama. Let's get back to that. So again, this is a really good tool to use, just to get an idea of, the markets and the mood in the markets, how the liquidity is moving, where the volume's at, all these different things. There's endless amounts of data that you can look into here. You can scroll down, you can look at where if you look at the spot volume, 24-hour spot volume, as always,
Mm.
Pancake Swap is top of the stack at 5.29 billion. Uniswap after that at 2.9.
Top of the
Then you got
stack.
Aerodrome in number 3 at 611 million.
There we go.
So yeah, no,
Mm-hmm.
this is a really good way to find out where the volume is, where the liquidity is, because as if anybody that's out there in DeFi knows, volume is what is going to earn you fees. So, keep an eye on this. Always check this. A lot of times you can catch, if you're checking the liquidity that's being bridged between chains as well, it can give you an early indicator of where the pools are going to be. Again, DeFi Llama, great tool. WA.xyz. So this, as always, is just real world asset tokenization, and all it's doing is tracking the institutional and retail tokenizing of real world assets. So private U.S. Treasury debt, commodities, gold, silver, oil, things like that, stocks, bonds, real estate, intellectual property, art, all those different things are starting to be tokenized, which is just going to make them, an illiquid asset more liquid to where it can be bought, sold, traded 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, anywhere in the world at any time between any two people or groups of people. I'm actually talking to a investment group right now about tokenizing a fund and we talked about this last Thursday with the panel that I'm starting to have on Thursdays. One is an estate lawyer and a title company owner, so real estate, and the other one is a licensed financial advisor. And they are talking with a group that does litigation for class action lawsuits and high level lawsuits that usually get settled out of court. And what they're wanting to do is they have a fund, because the reason they get settled out of court is most people like me and you can't afford to pay a lawyer for a long drawn out legal battle with these corporations that have armies of lawyers and endless amounts of money to fight you in court. So usually they settle out of court. But what they're doing is they want to tokenize a fund to where you can invest in that fund, provide liquidity to allow them to have the funds to, actually take these to court and earn a yield on the liquidity that, whenever they win lawsuits, then basically that, they take their cut and then they distribute the rest to the liquidity or the members of the pool. So yeah, I'm going to be talking with them about that. It should be a really cool, potentially a really cool opportunity. Not necessarily telling you to invest in it, but a really cool opportunity to find out about tokenization for me, and potentially an investment for some people in the future. So
The
uh,
alpha.
yes. So I'm just going to touch on a couple of things that I found on X today. As always, I'm always having stuff flood onto my feed from Plume. But Plume updated their token release schedule. So in a nutshell, they basically pushed a bunch of their unlocks to January of 2026, resulting in a 6-month extension for a bunch of their and letting those vest now. They opted to let them vest later because I think that there we go. I'm back. So yeah, basically in a nutshell, they are pushing out their token unlock for another 6 months because they see what Plume is building and they see the potential, and they don't necessarily want to sell right now. I mean, the prices have been down, and so to me, that's very bullish. That the initial investors and the people that are part of the project are willing to wait to unlock for another 6 months. So love to see that. Oh, let me share this tab. So yeah, that's basically all this was, and this was from the Plume Foundation is who posted that. Next up, Our Network. Ooh, I need to follow them. On June 6th, Plume launched its mainnet on Arbitrum Orbit with a 226 million in TVL via the pre-launch partners. At 204 million, 90% of the value is concentrated in just 6 protocols, 5 of which are RWA native. So these 5 protocols, you have, obviously Plume Network with PUSD, you have Super State Funds, you have Morpho Labs, which is on Base. Anybody that's not familiar, they're the one that's doing the Bitcoin backed loans on actually natively on Coinbase, and then Nest Protocol. So I've been messing around, and I'll get to that at the end of the show. I've been messing around with Nest Protocol, and actually have been depositing a decent amount of liquidity there and trying out to see what kind of yield that I can earn over there. And it's looking good so far. It's still early on, but again, I'll share that a little bit later. And Royco is another I've been messing with on the Plume portal. But again, the fact that TVL is growing on Plume is bullish in my eyes. It's a really good ecosystem, a really good really good group of and backers as well. We got Genius Act passed, time to buckle up. Oh no, that was June 18th. Never mind. Let's see. Use cases, 30 plus use cases unlocked by INCO. So we're going to be talking about INCO here in a minute, and this is going to segue into it. But 30 plus use cases unlocked by INCO across payment, DeFi, gaming, identity, and more to get you inspired. You can build any of these on existing blockchains such as Base, Ethereum, Monad, or Solana. So we're going to be getting into this. It's a privacy project that Jeff brought to my attention, and so I'll let him get into the details of that. I'll drop this, and then I'm going to kick it over to you, Jeff. So INCO has collaborated with Circle. So those of you that aren't familiar, Circle is USDC. They're the company that basically mints and distributes USDC. So they collaborated with Circle Research to explore bringing confidentiality to the ERC20 or Ethereum tokens through fully homomorphic encryption. So we can click on this, go over to Circle, new modular building block for compostable, privacy-focused DeFi from INCO Network and Circle Research, introducing the confidential ERC20 framework. INCO Network and Circle Research release a new white paper and open source repo on transforming ERC20 tokens into confidential wrapped versions that preserve user privacy using fully homomorphic encryption. The reason that this is important is, especially in DeFi, is you don't want people to be able to look on the blockchain and see that, Jeff bought or is in this pool and he's making this much money. And, you don't want everyone knowing, what you're doing financially. Yes, it's great that some aspects of blockchain technology are transparent and, that you can see what's going on chain.
Governments.
Yes,
Yeah.
governments, they use our tax money. It would be great to have that transparency with that. But we as individuals, not everybody should be able to see what we're doing on chain, especially with our finances. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to you, Jeff, and let's get some alpha on this new INCO project.
Yeah, I I did a video on them a few months ago when their testnet opened up because they are in development right now, and you can participate. It's pretty easy. They have a game that you can a hangman game, but we'll get into that. Yeah, INCO, I'm glad you brought up that tweet with the 30 plus use cases because I had this blog post from them that they shared, and it goes into, more like what confidentiality are they trying to protect? What are the real world use cases? Because you're like, okay, like how does that work? And I'm glad that they're doing something with real use case and utility, like we talked about on Saturday. Not just these projects that are, oh yeah, another layer two that's bullshit. Like, what do you have to offer? And if you can provide, uh, security and stuff, especially identifications, and that's where like the ZK proofs and ZK tech is beneficial because
Mm.
it is harder for you to identify certain things with your identity, and yeah, it's got a lot of good security features. But here, part of this
Well, and
30,
it's
I'll
not.
just kind of dive into some of these.
Well, and it's not just
Oh, go ahead.
privacy of the individual's identity. It's basically it's privacy of like the amounts and where it's going
Hmm.
from and to, and things like that. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
right
in
here,
finance,
payroll
yeah, payroll,
company, EOA, right here, you
yep,
confidential, it gets locked, goes to your employees. Um,
yeah. You
yeah,
don't want
on-chain
you don't
retail.
want all your employees seeing what everybody's getting paid.
No, or you don't want anyone to accidentally see the books. It's like, oh shit. Definitely don't want that, man.
No.
Yeah, confidential streaming payments. So you can stream tokens to pay somebody. You can say, hey, I want to drip. There's a project called Superstream, and you can say, hey, I want to send Mike a half an Ethereum, but I want it to drip over 6 months. You can set up a contract and send the contract Ethereum stuff to Mike, and then Mike's address, and it'll just do it over a 6 month period. But this, you don't want people to know, like, hey, I'm paying this person whatever. And that's where, this can come into play. P2P
Mhm.
transactions like Venmo, banks, they would be much better. I know that whole privacy hack or hacks that we keep having every year with our bank accounts and passwords and all that shit. This stuff is we're what's going to protect us. Well, hopefully,
Hopefully,
unless
yeah.
the CIA doesn't pull a back door into Bitcoin and just take over everything.
No shit.
But yeah, private token vesting, all kinds of interesting stuff. Secure on-chain card transactions, so between your bank and Visa cards, private ticketing, and oh my god, so going to festivals and electronic music shows, there's a lot of people that get scammed by fake tickets. I've seen it
Oh, yeah.
more in that scene than other events, but I'm sure it happens. But it's just really fucking gross, man. So having something like private ticketing, where you can, there aren't these bullshit third party fees either, and you can know that your ticket's secure and private, and nobody else has like printed it essentially. Yeah, dude, we've had friends that have gotten screwed, $100+ of a fake ticket, and you're just ass out. And also, these places like Ticketmaster will screw you with the prices, man. It's like an extra thirty
Oh, yeah.
percent.
No, don't get me started on that. That my
Oh
whole
yeah, you had the Shane Gillis.
Oh, dude, Shane Gillis. I mean, it was a great show, but man, those tickets were expensive, and that the whole experience with trying to scan them in and get through the different layers of security of that thing was fucking ridiculous.
I think, yeah, GameTime.co is a place that's trying to not have like all the fees and stuff like Ticketmaster, and they actually advertise on Kill Tony. That's where I heard it from. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's a lot cheaper. So just a little hack. Yeah, because it's ridiculous, man. You want to have a good time, but you don't want to be in pain because your wallet is hurting.
Oh yeah, no, it was like 200 and something bucks a ticket.
Ooh, ooh, man. Yeah. Well, TradFi, regulatory and compliance friendly. And I'd be interested to talk to your brother and Jeff about this too. That'd be something cool to talk about. Here's the bonds, created bonds tokenized. You got what investors purchase bonds, bond tokens traded on secondary market, encryptions, and regulators granted viewing permission for anti-money laundering, and then investors receive yield. So encryption for interbank settlement, a lot of very important use cases.
Well, and I don't know.
And they have pretty big backing.
So no, the backing is what I was wanting to touch on. So I mean, you got Coinbase Ventures, Robot Ventures, Circle, Polygon, Finbushi, Big Brain. I mean, there's a lot
A16Z, CSX.
Yeah, there's a lot of heavy hitters that are involved with this project, and when you understand what what INCO's trying to build out, that privacy layer, and what they are is they're basically like a picks and shovels. So, kind of why we're so bullish on Plume, because it adds like certain functionality to other projects. INCO is very similar, where it's, just adding that privacy layer or that privacy functionality to existing projects. So it's not like it's trying to compete with those projects. It's just giving functionality that those projects don't have natively, is what INCO's doing. So again, financial institutions, governments, individuals, when it comes to the financial sector and DeFi, and as TradFi gets onboarded to DeFi, it's you want to have that privacy layer so that everyone's not seeing what everyone else is doing. Because it's just the financial sector doesn't work well if you don't have that anonymity. However you say that. Yeah, that one. So yeah, it's important. So it's really good that and I think that's why Circle and Coinbase are probably showing an interest in this project.
Yeah, and they have INCO Lightning. It's built to provide confidentiality at the native speed of your app.
Well, shit. Hold on, real quick. Let me steal this real quick. We'll play the video I just found.
Oops.
All right.
Trustworthy, letting anyone see what's going on. However, this prevents people from doing many of the things that would make blockchains truly useful and practical. You don't want your financial history or who you're voting for public. And you don't want your poker hand to be seen by other players. It used to be the same for the internet. You couldn't shop online because someone might see your credit card details. When encryption was added, the internet became a safer place and everyone started using it. We need the same encryption moment for blockchains. We need INCO. INCO uses advanced encryption techniques to make blockchain data confidential, so it's safe to get paid, play games, and bring in the rest of Web 2. With INCO, you can transact on an existing blockchain like Ethereum without revealing how much you're sending or how much money you have. INCO is the missing piece of the blockchain stack, enabling blockchains to truly become the world's coordination layer, trustless, secure, and private.
There we go.
Hell yeah.
So let me give it back to you. There we
Awesome
go.
video.
So yeah, no, just I mean that it's just very very simple, very concise. Just gives you what it is that they're trying to do, and it's something I didn't think about, but voting, great
Mm-hmm.
use case, for privacy. It's like, obviously, you want to have, and I would love to see secure voting, not have mail-in
Yeah.
ballots, not have paper ballots, not have to worry about any of that, having voting on the blockchain and have it, where you had something like INCO that made it private, but at the same time, there was full transparency and you could audit the elections and know that only people authorized to vote voted, that each individual only got one vote. Just with a couple of clicks, anybody could verify that it was a valid election. It was not messed with. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
would love to see voting go on chain.
Oh man. Yeah, that's a big one too. I mean, all of these, hedge fund activity, gaming and NFTs. So, uh, confidential NFT ownership, metadata, DeFi and governance. I mean,
Well,
all
and
kinds of
NFTs just aren't cartoon monkeys. NFTs
no.
are, what we use like for the locks on Aerodrome,
Uh,
in
and
DeFi.
RWAs
Yeah,
too.
RWA. Yeah, I mean it's so whenever you hear NFTs, it's I know early on a lot of people out there think that NFTs are just, the little pictures and stuff that people are buying. There's a lot more to NFTs utility wise than what they were being used for initially.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see what else. Another supply chain, on-chain identity, medical records, storage and content marketplaces.
I could
So
see supply
yeah.
chain,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, if like in shipping, if it's a cargo that, say it's, explosives or munitions or hazardous materials, or it's not necessarily something that you'd want everyone to know about, especially, bad actors. If
Yeah.
they knew that, that it was carrying, something of value, if it's pallets of gold or, I mean, just, you don't want everybody knowing, what's on each ship and where it's going and how it's getting there. And so,
Dare
yeah,
I
I mean,
say a box of pagers?
yeah, right. Right.
I'm just saying it.
Hey, you can intercept those
Fuck, man.
pictures and, do a little fiddle fucking. And next thing you know,
Yeah. Damn.
people are, disappearing.
Fuck. Yeah, that's so what have they done to allow people to participate in testing out these features? Well, they've launched on the base testnet and you can explore two applications, right? This on-chain hangman game and Comfy, which is an interface for encrypting your on-chain balance to keep it confidential. Oh yeah, Jay with the Cardano was doing on-chain voting. Yeah,
But
I,
I
I
mean,
thought so too.
if Cardano doesn't have that privacy layer, though, I mean, they could add it with
Hmm.
INCO. Again, it's not a competing blockchain. It's a layer of functionality.
So this is the the testnet page right here from their documents, experiences.inco.org. And they have the private payment and the hangman game. So we'll go, and this is on our channel wallet. So, um, oh yeah, I'm already on the page. So your on-chain balance doesn't have to be public. Use Comfy to conduct private payments and hide your balance on-chain. So I'm going to connect with a wallet, with our wallet. And if it's easy to participate, just takes a few steps, but I recommend always using a burner wallet or a separate wallet for your airdrop activity that's not connected to your main account. But right here, you can see my assets. I don't have anything in here right now. So we will mint some testnet tokens And these are fake tokens that will be used to test out this interface. So they give you USDC or CUSDC.
One thing that they did say, and for whatever reason they were adamant about it, was in the Discord. Right?
Oh, your mic's acting up again.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. Oh, that's weird.
One thing they were adamant about in the Discord is that they're saying that there is no airdrop.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know if they meant that they're just, as of right now. I kind of looked a little bit, and I mean it looks like from the official documentation that there potentially could be, but as of right now there's no official airdrop.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. And Layer Zero, one of the people in the marketing or something was asked straight up at an event, and he was like, "Oh, there's no airdrop." Mm-hmm. And other projects too. It's but you have to say it. You're like, okay, we need to. You're like, all right, no, at this point, but it is important to keep on your radar, because these, especially with the backing like that, I'm glad to see stuff like this being built out. So we will mint some tokens, and plus you're getting a little experience with blockchain applications and how to use them, how to connect your wallet, how to get these testnet tokens. That way you're not risking your real funds. And let's see, let's get some CUSDC. And now you will need testnet Ethereum. If you don't already have any on the base network, reach out to me and I'll be able to send you some. And I'll share the video that I covered that I did going through all this, so you get a better step-by-step. Let's see. Where's my CUSDC? Oh, it's over here. Okay, so this encrypted side, right? You can unshield it, but you have to sign with your wallet. So you can hide your balance. But this 1,000, people will be able to see publicly. If you want to shield it, you can just hit shield, put in 100.
Raise shields.
Shield your crypto. And this is ultimately just testing out their smart contract features. I don't know if they'll actually, they might have a cool application like this, but the important thing is, can they encrypt your amounts properly and not have people hack into it? So there you go. You see, I sent over my $100 to the encrypted side, and you can unshield too. You can unshield, and then that just gives you some interactions on their network. And their other application, which is pretty simple, is their Hangman game. So I want people in the chat to participate. Raffle tickets? Oh, yeah, Deadwood, I got raffle tickets the past 2 days myself.
Damn, raffle tickets.
Fuck. I might just throw it all in one of that Pokemon set or some shit, because that seems to have the better odds.
I'm going to do my daily spin right now.
Might be able to sell that thing for some Mooney. Okay. Ellie's ready. Jay, you ready? Deadwood, everyone? Richard, everyone ready? All right, word to guess. It's 4 letters.
Okay. I got plume points.
So we want AEIOU, but no Y?
Yes. You gotta do the Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah. The
STRL.
Start with it. Oh, what is it again?
STRLN and E is your vowel. That's what they always do on Wheel of Fortune.
All right, we'll go with the S on the first. Let's see. No, Jay, there's no hints. Oh,
Oh, see it? There you go.
got the S. Okay. I think they're behind, actually. I think the video, right? The live is ahead 30 seconds. I think
It's like
usually
15 seconds. It's like a 15
15.
second lag between, what we're doing here and what goes on the socials.
Okay, Jay said M or I. What'd you say, Mike? M or I?
Um, I would say E, because like after S, I would think that it'd be an E.
Ah,
But
let's see. Oh,
no,
before.
before it.
Peso?
Oh, here, here. I'm gonna cheat. Hold on. 4-letter words with.
Oh, best test. Okay, we'll do T
Yeah. Nest.
because both of those.
Best desk. Fest.
Oh, okay.
Mesa.
So no T.
Mesa.
Oh, so no, it wouldn't be best. Mesa. Okay, we'll do D for desk, and if it's not, we'll try M.
Try M. Yeah, try M after that.
Ellie's asking Grok.
Yeah, that's what I did.
D, M. Damn, look at his head. Oh no, he's going to the fire.
There's no T.
There's no T, so no best.
Is no T or
Oh.
D. Oh,
M. Mesa? Mesa?
S. MESS.
No, because there'd be two S's.
Oh, yeah. All right. MES and Mesa, Mesh, and Mess. So try Mesh.
Mesh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, you saved his life. Way to go.
Grok saved his life. Grok saved his life.
Thank you, Grok. Nice. But yeah, that's pretty much all you can do right now. But really awesome real world applications and use case. Very important. The voting thing, man, I don't know how long I've been saying it for, but oh shit, my damn screen went
That
down.
to me is a no-brainer. Having presidential elections and local elections on blockchain with a privacy layer, to me, is a no fucking brainer. I mean, it would solve every issue when it comes to trust in the elections, all of that. We would know that whoever got voted in was who actually got voted in, and that there was no chicanery or shenanigans going on.
Yeah, and I've said this for nearly a decade now, not long after I got into crypto. Like that would be the perfect thing, voting on the blockchain to make sure that, or at least minimize the amount of nefarious voting that goes on. And yeah, like the thing with China that just came out recently. So that's very important stuff. And yeah, don't be afraid to get in here. Reach out to me in the Discord or on Twitter if you have any questions on how to really participate in the testnet. I know there can be some technical issues, but if you need help setting up a wallet or anything at all, I'll be happy to help. And I'll also share the link for my video in the description. So if you need some more reference. But yeah, INCO, privacy, confidentiality on the blockchain, very important stuff. Very important stuff.
Absolutely.
That's all I got, Mike.
All right, cool. Well, let me take control here.
There you go.
All right. So, a little bit of DeFi. So, just a quick update. I mean, I always like to be very transparent with my earnings and what I'm doing. Obviously, if I'm trying to teach DeFi, you don't want to learn from somebody if they're losing money. So, as of right now, I'm sitting at 37,000. I just updated it right before we went live. $37,754. I added this over here on the right. I wasn't tracking in October or November, but I do know that I started with 15 grand in October. I don't know what I ended in November, but December I ended with about almost $30,000. That was when the markets were pumping, and I was just making a ton of money. So that was price appreciation and yield I was earning. January, obviously, we were dumping. I went down to 26.7. February 18.5, March 14.7, April 14.7, and that's kind of where I leveled off at. Is almost back at my my entry point. As far as liquidity, but we were at a much lower price than when I entered. So obviously I was stacking crypto. The dollar amount didn't reflect the amount of crypto I had. So I had more crypto, more tokens, but they were just worth less. So, as I'm always telling people, the reason I have these tracking sheets is so I am looking at my token count and I'm looking at the dollar amount. Because if you're just focused on dollar amount, if you're hodling or you're doing DeFi, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're going to get discouraged because if the markets are dumping, you still might be, earning tokens. And when the markets turn around and pump back up, you're going to be in a much better position than you were before at those levels. So, again, in May, I was up to 25,300. Now I'm up to 37,700. And we're nowhere near the levels that we were at back in, December. When the markets were, when Bitcoin took off and alts were starting to pump and everyone was excited. We're nowhere near that. And I already have 8 grand more than at the peak, back when my total portfolio was over $100,000. So as the markets turn around, all of this crypto right now, I'm earning $220 a day. That breaks down to, and obviously this fluctuates throughout the month as, volatility and, volumes and things like that. APRs move up and down, but I'm making $6,600 a month or almost $80,000 a year off of $37,700. So gives you an idea of, how DeFi flows. And you can go back through our, older episodes. And I do this on almost every episode so that, an honesty check, an integrity check. You can go back and you can look and be like, all right, where did he say he was at this point and this point and this point? There's a lot of people out there that will do fake screenshots and they'll edit things to make it look like they're doing a lot better than they actually are. I want to be fully transparent. I want to show you that, if I'm losing money, if I'm making money, that's what this is about, is for all of us to learn. And in our Discord, we have a section in there where people can share their portfolios. They can get advice from each other. It's all about community and learning from each other. I'm learning things all the time in the Discord, from the people that are in there because there's just too much in DeFi. Just there's different protocols that work different ways that have different, different mechanics to them, to where you almost have to dedicate yourself to learning how that specific protocol works to use it properly. So, that's just something that I wanted to share with you all. But Bitcoin dominance is starting to break down. I mean, zoom out because obviously we needed to go down much lower before alt season historically kicks off. I'm wanting to say, isn't it around like 40 or 50% Bitcoin dominance is usually one of the indicators to alt season kicking off?
Yeah, but I'm wondering how the the flood of meme coins and stuff this cycle will affect that.
Yeah.
Because it might change it might be like 60% or 55%. I don't know. But yeah, there is some sort of marker that will determine whether or not the true alt season starts. But going back to your your spreadsheet, this is a great Mike's Way is a great way to DCA into crypto no matter what. Even in a semi bull run, whatever, even if the dollar amount goes down, you're still accumulating crypto and
Yeah.
making
And
these
it's
pools,
free.
rolling them into other pools. And even if you need to cash out some assets and roll them into another, that might be performing better, hey, there's different flavors of doing this, and it can benefit you all sorts of ways. Just don't think you have to use all of your own money. I mean, Mike started with his 15K initial and just grew it from there. So everything
I
now
haven't
is
added
just
any of my own money since I started. But this portfolio, I said it when I first started it, and I first started doing this show, that I wasn't going to add any of my own liquidity. This thing was going to either be a success or a failure on its own merits. So either these liquidity positions are going to earn money and grow this portfolio, or it's going to go to zero on its own. So, I wanted to be sure that I did that because I don't want to constantly having to be, add liquidity to the portfolio to prop it up, to keep it going.
Mhm.
I wanted to learn DeFi, but I want to, I want to use this as a vehicle to earn passive income every month. And if it can't do it on its own, if I'm always having to add my own liquidity, then it's not that it's not what I'm looking for. And so far it's been great. And the markets have been shit and it's still been great. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like once the markets take off. But this wrapped ETH USDC position was the position that I started this whole portfolio with. It was the only position that I had, and I had about 8,000, I believe it was, or just shy of 8,000 that I had in it. It was like 7.9 or something. But I have another old sheet that I could pull up, but I'm pretty sure it was just shy of 8. And once ETH gets back to the price it was at, like 4,200 or something like that, then I'll be back, in that position. So that will go back up. But all of this, the rest of these liquidity pools, for the most part, other than this Casper and this Flare, the rest of this, all the Plume, all the Arrow, all the Wrap, all the KT, this wrapped ETH USDC position. So that one position fed all of this, and so we all don't start in the same place. Don't measure yourself against, because I fell into that. Some of the channels that I was watching to initially start learning about DeFi, they use their portfolios are millions and millions and millions of dollars. And it's discouraging because they're like, oh yeah, this week I harvested my yield and I made $30,000. And it's like, dick, it's like,
yeah.
I'm not there. It's like, can you dumb it down?
Yeah, or start with a small account. Like have your channel account and be like, hey, make it realistic for people. Like you said,
Yeah.
A lot of people
And,
look
and,
at
may-
that
and
and they're
maybe
like,
that's
I
something
have
many do.
$100.
No, and I get that all the time. People are like, "Hey, I got $1,000 or I got $500. Can you give me some pointers on what to do with it?" And I always tell them, it's like, look at the portfolio that the episode 8 that I just did on how to build a portfolio. I'm like, start simple, start with lending, start with a full range, pool, start with something that it doesn't take a lot of tweaking and monitoring and watching it and making sure it stays in range, and picking ranges and, all of those different things. And, knowing how, what happens, to the asset balance as the prices move, things like that. Cause it gets confusing. I get it. I was there. I mean, not too long ago, 6, 7 months ago, I was there. So I get it. But you can get into these, lending and full range pools, and it's super simple, especially a full range pool like an Arrow USDC is, you have a stable coin. So you have a stable crypto pair. The only thing you have to worry about the price moving on is the Arrow. So price of Arrow go up,
Mhm.
then you get price appreciation. Price of Arrow goes down, you get price depreciation, on your deposit. You can see on mine, this Arrow USDC full range, I started it with $2,170. Currently, because now Arrow is worth more than when I started it, it's now worth $3,162. So, roughly $1,000 worth of price appreciation. Plus, it's a full range pool. So the whole time I've had this open, like 5, 6 months, I've been earning around 40% APR. So I've just had money trickling in, and it's probably like 500, $600 or something like that every time. This one right here, I'll show it. So this little guy here, like I just harvested it, so I only have $3.19. This one up here, I harvested yesterday, so I only have about $5. So I harvested everything yesterday. So it gives you an idea. I'm making about $3 a day on this and about $5 a day on that. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a free $5. And together, I'm making $8, $9 a day, and so again, doesn't seem like a lot, but you know, we'll just round it up, say $10, $10 a day. That's
Mhm.
$300 a month that I'm making
Mhm.
without any work whatsoever. All I did is I put this liquidity in there. And again, that's not counting the price appreciation I'm getting. That's
Yep.
just the yield. So I still have exposure to the price action, but I'm earning free Arrow on top of it. So that $10 a day that I'm earning and that $300 a month, that is paid out to me in Arrow.
And
Like
think of it
we are
like a dividend.
it really is.
Yeah.
It really is. And
You're
of
going to own
course,
the asset anyways, and you get
exactly.
a daily dividend or whenever you want to claim your rewards, and and it's much better APY.
Absolutely. And what Jay's talking about, like we're talking
Mhm.
about in the Discord, we're always chatting in there. Our range pools. I have a bunch of range pools that went out of range. This ETH USDC was out of range. This wrapped ETH KTA pool was out of range, and I have a 54% spread on this thing. I mean, that's a huge freaking range. But it went out of range. These are still out of range, but you can see that they're starting to move back towards being in range. So I'm just going to wait,
Mhm.
because again, I'm just hodling KTA. If the price of KTA goes up, I still have exposure to that price appreciation. I'm not earning yield, mind you, but my 1387, if the price of KTA, goes up 100%, just I mean, I'll go back into range, but say that I didn't. I'm not going to get a full 100% price appreciation, so I won't have, almost $2,800. I might have 2,200 or 2,300. because it's DCAing me, in and out of KTA and ETH. So again, just something you need to understand how these, the mechanics of these pools work. But let's jump over. So one thing I do want to point out is the reason that I have these tracking sheets. And again, we have these for free in the Discord. Feel free to go in there, download them, start messing with them, fill them out, edit them, do whatever you want with them. But the reason that it's important that you understand the power of DeFi, it's not having a pool, having one pool that's making you, $500 a day or something like that. It's diversifying, and building your portfolio out. Again, that episode 8 I just did, to where you have a solid foundation of these full range pools and lending and staking, things that are always going to earn no matter what. Yes, it's a lower APR, and it might not look sexy if you're looking at 16% or 20%. But when you compound all of these together, if you look at these dailies, even if you ignore some of these larger ones, like the $37 one, like you have $3 here, $8 here, $3.40, $2, a couple of $10, $18, $21, alone, it doesn't seem like a whole lot. But because I had that one, pool, that wrapped ETH pool, and I've built out these others, in this past 6-7 months, through patience and, just being dedicated and not taking the liquidity out, rolling it back in, opening new pools, things like that, I've gotten to the point to where I'm making $220 a day. That is how you have to think of DeFi. Is, DeFi is not a get rich quick. You will make money and you potentially will get rich, but it's not like a meme coin. It's not like a lottery ticket. It's not, trading where you can make, 100, 200, 300% and, in a couple of minutes. It's not the get rich quick. But if you build out your portfolio right, you're not going to lose your money. You need to make sure that you understand that this is a slow and steady wins the race. And the great thing about it is once you have a good, diversified, strong portfolio, then it's paying you that good, steady yield, every day, every week, every month, that you can cash out to supplement your income. It's like, yeah, it might only be a couple $100 a month at first, but that couple $100 becomes 1,000. That becomes 2,000. That becomes 4,000. That becomes 8,000. And just over time, as you learn and you can, add risk to your portfolio, after you build out that foundation of full range pools, lending and staking, you can add, take a little bit of your liquidity, maybe take a couple $100 and open get into a pool, add liquidity to a pool that's paying 9,000% APR with insane volume. That
It's your moon bag, yeah.
That you double your money in a week. And and then you take that and either roll it back in or you start another liquidity pool. And that is, the mindset that you need to have with DeFi. You almost have to rewire yourself, because most people in crypto, they're looking to get rich quick. And they don't realize that if you can get rich quick doing something, you can get poor quick doing the same thing.
Yeah,
and there's a lot smarter
100,000%.
Yeah. And there's a lot smarter people than me and you out there with a lot better tools that can game this market, especially meme coins. People that know how to get into meme coins early, they're the ones that are on social media and they have armies of people, their little Reddit groups, and these freaking meme farms over in China and stuff, to where they're on social media with AI bots just hyping the shit out of these meme coins, getting people to freaking FOMO into them. And the whole time that people like me and you, retail, is FOMOing into these meme coins, they're sucking liquidity out of them. And
They're laughing.
just laughing. So, me personally, I stay away from memes. Can you make money? Yes. Am I willing to risk my liquidity that I could be earning in DeFi? No.
Yeah,
We had
really good
got
tips on these pools, man, because it's really important.
it really is. I mean, I want everyone out there to make money. I want everyone out there to change, them and their families, financial well-being. Uh, it's if that's, starts out with a couple $100 a month and you grow from there, do not get discouraged. That couple $100, you might hit a rough patch and that couple $100 keeps food on your table. When you don't need
Yes.
it, you can roll it back into your portfolio to grow your portfolio. Think of it as a high interest savings account that actually earns you money. Instead of like the 0.01% that the bank pays you, you're earning a couple 100%, a year, or, maybe even a couple 100% a month. But before we go, I want to share this real quick. So as you all know,
I think your screen's frozen.
is it?
Oh no, Plume Portal. Oh, your
Yeah.
camera's frozen,
Oh, okay. So I
but you're
want
good.
to, everybody that watches us knows that, I mean, we're hugely bullish on Plume, but Plume, the ecosystem that they're building, I've been messing with a bunch of these platforms, a bunch of these protocols, and this is the one that I've started messing with, this Royco. So you can get into this Plume. And then they have these in alpha that you can get into on Nest. So over here, you can get into this Nest Alpha Vault, and it's not huge APRs, or APYs. Again, you might only be earning 10%, 8%, things like that, which isn't bad. If you get a decent amount of money in there, that's not bad, and it's a good steady yield, and it's backed by really good basket of assets. So later on, once I make a bunch of money, I'm just testing them out now, and that's kind of why I wanted to share this with you. Um, I'm just kind of testing this out now to see how well it works, and how the interface, the UI works, and like this one right here, you can see this wrapped plume at the end of it. I mean, I only have a little bit of liquidity in there, but this right here, you can see, once it unlocks here in a couple of months on September 21st, it's a 90 day. Once it unlocks, then I can claim this 62 plume. And so it's basically quarterly. It's a way that you could structure your portfolio to where you could get payouts quarterly. And it compounds and does things like that too. But it's just another vehicle that you can use to grow your portfolio or to earn yield, depending on where you're at, in your life cycle. If you're starting out and you're wanting to aggressively build, if you're in the middle, you're looking to risk off a little bit, or if you're retired like myself and you're just wanting to have that residual income each month that you can augment your retirement with. So again, these are really good platforms that they're starting to build out that is working with people like BlackRock and just these deep liquidity asset holders that they're building out these baskets of assets like US treasuries and things like that that allow you to earn yield. And again, this is something you don't have to go through an investment company. You don't have to be an accredited investor. Some of them you do, but it gives a lot more. It removes the barriers to entry. I use that term a lot, but it really does. It removes the barriers of entry for those like me and you to get into these things, to where we don't have 5, 6 people that we're paying fees to these things for manage the stuff myself. And I prefer to manage it myself.
Yeah,
So
giving
that's,
the power back to us, man. Giving the power back to us.
absolutely, absolutely.
If you
Because
can, if
I
you
mean,
can be the
once
bank.
what's that?
I said, if you can be the bank and manage this yourself, and just really, take control of your financial freedom. You don't want to be have your thumb under, or be under somebody's thumb and just give up your control like that. There's all this stuff to make life more convenient, but at some point, convenience will be the killer of you.
Well,
And I don't know. It's just,
well, like you can see here. I mean,
whoop.
BlackRock. You got Credible, you got Superstate, you got Casu, you got Mineral Vault. I mean, you just Open Trade, Mountain Protocol. I mean, you have all these different ones that are building out these things. And the great thing about these is, yeah, you're not earning huge yield. However, you are not exposed to market volatility. It's you're the it's not like these liquidity pools to where your the values go up and down violently. A lot of these you can just lock in that value. So if you make a couple $100,000 and you throw $100,000 in one of these, you're going to get a good steady 10.5% yield, or on $100,000, you're going to get $10,500 a year, just guaranteed money. And again, doesn't seem like a lot, but that's around $1,000 a month, or just shy of $1,000 a month of just guaranteed money. And again, if you're somebody that is building out your portfolio, that's $1,000 a month that you can use to buy crypto. So you still have the
Mhm.
$100,000 that's in the fund. That's not going anywhere. You're not taking out a loan against it or anything like that. So it's not at risk of liquidation. You're just earning yield because the assets of the pool are earning yield, and so you're just earning your share. And again, in this example I gave, you have $1,000 a month to live off of, or take a vacation, or reinvest into markets, either traditional or DeFi. Buy crypto. There's buy silver and gold. I mean, whatever you want to do. So just explore. Dive in. See, explore some of these different platforms, not just Plume, but get out there and be careful. Don't go just throwing liquidity on just any old platform, but definitely explore them. See the options out there. There's a lot of exciting things. Oh, here we go. Stan, would Aerodrome benefit from that shift?
I'm
You know
not
what
sure.
shift?
Yeah. Yeah, Stan, what were you referring to? Because I'm a little confused with that as well.
Huh.
And yeah, Jay, no more nanny state.
Oh yeah, enough of that. Yeah, I'm done with Big Brother, freaking managing everything and doing everything.
Oh,
It,
when I was getting my tattoo done, he said that one of his friends, they live in San Francisco, right? San Francisco is a nightmare with crime, and somebody stole his friend's car, and they were able to track it all the way down the Bay Area, down to like San Jose or something, but using the cameras at the intersections all the way down, they were able to track and it's like, oh shit, you're
yeah.
don't think about doing stupid shit, man. We're
Oh no. And then you add facial recognition to that.
Yep.
I mean, it's yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Man, the 90s were so good. You just go anywhere and do stupid shit, and as a kid, and
Oh
or
yeah.
before.
No, I mean it's gonna happen. It's
Yeah.
living out in the country where I'm at is about the only safe place right now. But you have
Yeah,
anything else, brother?
No, I was waiting to hear from Stan.
Yeah, I
But I'm
was
not
too.
sure what shift that was. Or yeah, I don't know. We'll try and get him. Is he in the Discord? Stan, jump in
I'm
the
not,
Discord
yeah, I'm
and
not
see if
sure, but yeah, jump in the Discord. Happy to answer it over there. But but yeah, I mean, this is I'll give my closing thoughts. This is an exciting time. I know I'm excited, with DeFi. Um, just the opportunity that this presents, because before DeFi and before I got into crypto, I was, just retired, and I just figured like, okay, I'm going to live out, the rest of my days with my retirement, and, whatever, jobs I decided to, to get online, or, whatever, I just kind of accepted that that was just kind of the cards. And, but now with, DeFi and crypto, it just opened a whole new world to where I am able to treat it like a small business with, no employees, no overhead, no inventory, none of that thing, none of that. No customers, even the my customers are people that are using my liquidity, and it's all automated through smart contracts. So I don't even got to deal with them. So yeah, it's just really important that people understand this opportunity, because there's no telling what DeFi is going to look like in 10, 20 years. We might not see these types of yield. A lot of these, a lot of these institutional ones are starting to look like that they're matching the traditional markets, around 10%, 7%, 5%, 8%. This, 15% is huge in traditional markets. But, we don't know how long you're going to be able to be earning these types of yields in some of these liquidity pools. So nut up, start learning about DeFi. If you need to start with $100 or a couple of $100, do it. Don't procrastinate. Start small, dip a toe in, lending, staking, full range pools. That's your foundation. Build that out. Focus on just building out that. And then once you get to a point to where you have a good solid foundation, then start getting into range pools to boost your earning. But then no matter what, even if that pool just trashes on you, you still have that foundation to start over again. Don't get greedy. Don't try to build too fast. That's my closing thoughts. What do you got, brother?
Well, we appreciate everybody. I know I do. And 50 members on Discord. We want to build a strong community, help each other grow, and be supportive, and also make sure that nobody's getting scammed. We want to make sure that you're visiting the right sites, getting the right information. And yeah, I know I really appreciate all of you tuning in, spending your most valuable asset, as a Crypto Lifer says, and that is your time, which you can't get back. So I hope that we are able to provide some value for all of you out there, and you keep coming back. So we must be doing something right. And Vet, I appreciate you sharing all the DeFi stuff, getting me deeper in the trenches. And
brother.
Take advantage of this, because you never know when you might, what is the percentage of people don't even have, $500 for an emergency expense. And something like this could really, even a couple $100, like you said, if you're struggling, you find yourself out, or you out on the street, hopefully not, but you just never know. And this is something that could definitely be valuable. But yeah, take advantage, go back and watch our previous episodes, Vet's DeFi deep dives, and all the great shit. I think he dropped out again. We'll let him pop back in.
There we go.
And he's back.
Yeah. So,
but no.
By all means, if you're new to DeFi, look at our channel. There's a section called DeFi Academy. Start on episode 1, and I'll be adding more, but I'm up to episode 8. If you watch those in order, at the end of each, it will have the pop-up of the next episode. Just go through those, and it will answer 80-90% of your questions about DeFi. I talk about, the different types of liquidity pools, ranged, full range. I talk about the wallets. I talk about, the basics of DeFi. All that stuff is in there. If you have any questions, Jay put the Discord link. Come in there. The community will help you in any way they can. It's a great group in there. We just started it a couple weeks ago, but we already have a really good group of people that are just all about having a good time and helping each other, earn money and change their financial future.
Yes.
So with that, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you to everybody out there, DCA and Pray, Jay, Ellie, Stan. Who else we got?
Deadwood, Richard, Troy. Thanks for participating.
DCA and Pray.
Alexander G.
Oh, yeah. Alexandria G. So, all right. Until next time, Veteran Crypto out.